Those are really good.
That's a good idea. It's 7:30 and thank you for joining us for our Wednesday, November 8th, Lisle Township meeting, and we'll have to call the order with a roll call, please.
Sure, Supervisor Hewitt,
Here.
Trustee Robinson.
Here.
Trustee Page.
Here.
Trustee McGovern.
Here.
Trustee Geis.
Here.
Assessor Trowbridge. Commissioner Young.
Here.
Thank you. And then a pledge of allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America, and this is the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then we'll start with public comment, and we'll start with the in-person public comment. We'll go around in a circle. I see Paula Dugan Garcia.
Just to scan real quickly here. Just giving my end of the year garden report. We had a fantastic year. This time we did a total of 1,628 pounds were harvested in our garden in 2023. I'm hoping that we can get thank you notes sent out to Woodhouse Sunrise Gardens. I don't know if we've done that yet, because we donated a lot of our plants to us this year. And also to the Lisle Women's Club, who gave us a grant this year. And then I want to give a little shout out to Gail Clark and Jan and John Dibble, who are some of our volunteers who've been with us since we began 7 years ago when I took over as chair. And they are retiring from the garden, but I just wanted to give a little shout out to them. They're fantastic harvesters, and I appreciate the word that was put out there that we actually need more volunteers. So anybody who's thinking about it, please volunteer. I actually already got an email from somebody who's interested, so it's already working. So thank you for that. So that's it.
Thank you for everything, Paula.
Thank you. And then I see in the hallway there, Jerry I'm just catching up with the people in the hallway there. Jerry Galloway, do you have anything?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, to your second meeting. I understand you have a second meeting. I don't know that I'm gonna make it there. In any case, I find it very surprising you're having a meeting in the dead of night. It just seems, like you wanna hide something. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And then Mr. Thank you. Mr. Okay, and then Ms. Young.
Nope.
Yes. And then Harry.
I just wanted to say this. I know it's gonna shock you, but I am over 35 years old. And I am one of those people from back in the 60s. Spent a lot of time on the road and considerable amount of time in jail during the civil rights movement. And at that time, coming from a working class family and a very tough working class town, I believe that what we were doing was forming a hell of a lot better society than it had been. With the native population, slavery, ugly things in this country, creeping and working people, pretty horrible stuff. And I thought we were coming up with a new society. And now I find myself now disappointed. I'm putting it this way further, shocked. Because what I see now is just a lot of harassment back and forth between the two major parties. I see a lot of greed, I see a lot of ugliness, which disappoints me because I put it in years and years, as I say, jails in Mississippi, all the way up to Maine. I'm hoping that we here can form an organization that does produce a better life for the majority of the people who live in the township and turn our back on the ugliness that's happening in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Quigley.
Hi, Sue Quigley, Lisle resident since 1999. Last month I retired and I found I needed help selecting a Medicare insurance plan for the remainder of 2023, November, and December, plus a plan for 2024. I was able to meet with the Township Senior Services person, Terry Carmelo, so I could understand the Medicare supplement plans available, and if they would be a good fit for my health care plan. I also met with an independent insurance agent separately. I received excellent information from both, but I was better able to understand the Medicare supplement that is not an Advantage plan with better details from from Terry Carabello. I think this is a wonderful service for Lisle Township residents and seniors. I'm glad it was there for me. As it's really harder to get detailed information about traditional Medicare choices. You're barraged with all the information, especially this time of year. You can't turn on the TV without hearing about Advantage, Advantage, Advantage. And you really may not, going in fresh, understand the difference between the two. It seems one-sided. And being able to find out more about Medicare supplement, which turned out to be the right choice for me, by the way. Getting those informations about traditional Medicare choices, plus answers to specific questions by meeting with a person that could answer them. Without having to just plug all my information into a website and say, hey, pick one for me and go with it. So I think it's great that you have a person available to do that. And I hope you continue to offer that to the rest of our tax-paying citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brubaker.
I'm John Brubaker, a resident of Lisle Township since 1960. Be a long evening with two scheduled meetings. I'll turn my attention to the most important aspects of your discussions tonight. That is the reduction in Lisle Township services that could result in the elimination, consolidation of work conditions and employees of the township offices. Don't we need to remind any of you, the township board, their recent purchase of the building at 2121 Hyden Avenue, but I will. So that ill-conceived expenditure that limits the ability of the township to provide services for years to come by diverting funds away from services, as well as trying to tie up a large portion of the infrastructure to house a group. Despite this sorry state of affairs, members of the board have repeatedly insisted there would be no impact personnel because of this. No impact to the already too limited services delivered in all areas of service. Food security, low income or temporarily unemployed, services to the elderly, transportation for those who can't get around on their own, and yes, even to our fledgling recycling program. But now you will hold a meeting on this very subject. Pretty clear you weren't thinking correctly most of the year when you went after the building. I'm still waiting for evidence regarding trustee Geist's prediction at an earlier meeting that the bubble house would do so well as an establishment that they would soon leave for greener pastures, thus freeing up space for expanded services. Thank you.
Thank you. Jill? Okay, and then David? Okay, and then Mark?
I'll just be brief. I think the 8:30 estimate for the second meeting started remarkably optimistic.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll go to the online public comments and we'll just keep going around the circle. So, Dan. Jeffrey. Harry, Lynn,
No, nothing.
thank you. Mike. Joanne. Tanya,
Nothing.
thank you. Terry. Okay, and then we'll go to the online people that have put something in to the form. I think there's just two, and let me just refresh this. That's just two. And can you see that, Clerk Pollock?
Sure. Donna Pepperjall was one. It says you promised that you would not ax employees. And then Mary Ann Vasquez, I wish to implore you to follow through on the commitment you made not to cut staffing on services for the residents. It is what the majority of the board was elected to do. Please do not, I'm assuming, abandon your democratic values. Do not turn your back on the residents of Lisle Township. That's Mary Ann Vasquez.
Okay, so public comment has been heard. Okay. Is there anyone else here that has a public comment?
Yeah. Back in August, there was a vote of no confidence issue. Since that point in time, it has continued to be a financial disaster here. I reviewed some of the numbers today because somebody said, a conversation with somebody who said that the township was close to insolvent. I didn't think they were, so I looked at it, but I did come across the General Assistance Fund, which I believe is insolvent. And I sent out an email today with the numbers, and I guess it becomes illegal. But that just shows the lack of leadership by the supervisor. I ask you, as the board did back in August, to resign. Also, I understand that you've been charged recently and a DUI. Don't know the details of that, and if it's false, I apologize. But I think I saw something on the DuPage County court site that said you were charged. Again, I ask you to resign.
Okay, moving on, is there, we're moving to the accountant's report.
I would like to make a motion to alter the agenda. I would like to, it's a little bit complicated, but the agenda is packed pretty tight. And in order to move the meeting a little faster, I would like to order to go in number 6, 7, 25, 26, 27, 9, 10, 11, 12, 28, 24, 5, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 30, 29, 31, 32. I can repeat that. Or I could take copies. What is easier? Repeat it? Okay, 6, 7, 25, 26, 27, 9, 10, 11, 12, 28, 24, 5, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 30, 29, 31, 32. It's like a Powerball ticket, right? Something. Right? That would be I would like to make the motion to alter the agenda to reflect that order, hopefully moving the meeting forward a little quicker.
A second.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, trustee Page for the motion and trustee McGovern, or sorry, guys, for the second. We're in discussion. Let me just remind you that in agenda item 13 and agenda item 9, we have people here to present in the audience.
Okay.
So can we move 13 and underneath 9? Or 13 before 9?
I don't have a problem with that. Does anybody have a problem with that? Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. If everybody agrees.
Is there anything in the packet about that presentation?
So we are about to get the information right now.
There was nothing in the packet.
And so there isn't any there, this is gonna be pretty self-explanatory when you hear the presentation. So,
You can put a sentence in the packet, paragraph, explaining.
I wanted to make sure that I didn't misspeak in any way, shape, or form, so the person is presenting tonight. And this is, again, something that there is zero cost to. So do you all wish to hear from this person?
The rules have been seen to be really important this week, and there's been nothing in the packet regarding this. And I believe that is one of the rules, that it should have been in the packet on Friday, considering we needed to make a whole second meeting because we wouldn't add something onto the agenda. So, you know,
Because it was a rule.
it's whatever you want to do,
It
obviously.
is not whatever I wish to do.
No,
So
I
if you
didn't say.
don't want
you.
to,
I
no
just
action.
said to the board.
it's a presentation. So
It's not an action item, is it?
it is not a,
Yeah.
well, what
So
it
that's-
is
that's
you're
different,
getting
yeah.
information. And so it's a presentation. You're not making any decisions with this, but it's a presentation of information.
You want to amend your motion?
I don't have, yeah, I'll amend my motion to accommodate your ask. I don't
Okay.
have a problem listening.
So underneath 9, we'll have 13.
And then 10.
And then
10, we'll wait then.
everything will go as exactly as trustee Page had said, if we can move 13 under 9.
I'll second the amendment.
Thank you.
Okay, and then can we have a roll call vote?
Trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee Geis.
Yes.
Trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson,
Yes.
supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay, so we're at 6. Audit of bills and claims.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something else. I'd like to make a motion to go to audit of expenditures. Second.
Thank you, trustee Page and trustee McGovern. Any discussion?
There's 2 bills payable to the account. Pardon?
They haven't. Don't you have to, aren't you gonna answer? Yeah.
So this is in the discussion, but we have to go to the audit, I think. To
I
get
made
to-
the motion.
Right, and then, so I think Ed, you're looking for the next discussion.
Okay.
Because we're just deciding to go to the audit. So, Clerk Polowitz, can we have a roll call vote to go to the audit?
Trustee Page.
Yes.
Trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Geis.
Yeah.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay, then, moving on to the audit of the expenditures. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to enter discussion, the audit of expenditures. Second.
Okay,
Just. We just did that.
I'm sorry.
Want to do the approval or?
Make a,
We can just discuss and then
Right.
we will.
thank you, right, my mind is in 10 different directions.
Well-
What motion are you looking for?
either a approval or a, is there a meaning that there needs to be a motion to do something?
To, a motion to discuss, I thought I made.
Okay,
It has come.
then thank you, trustee Page and trustee McGovern. Any discussion? Yes, Highway Commissioner Young.
Yeah, there's two payments to Nader Enterprises, and I think I reviewed the bills and some questions about what work was done on the withholding problem. That I would like to discuss probably with other people before you pay those bills. Also, there's a payment to TAP, which I believe also pertains to that withholding problem. And I'm not sure what they did, you know, whether they did enough to deserve to get paid that money. I thought there was a plan of action, and I don't know what happened to it, but it didn't get accomplished. So I would suggest trustees not pay that.
So with Taft, that was ending, they haven't done any work since the August work that was done, and that was ending the relationship. That was the final bill for the information that we had. We have not asked for any additional work from Taft. We switched over to using Ross's firm and Olson, and so that's why there isn't any more, and that is the finishing balance of what was the services rendered.
I think I understand it. I think it might be cool if the township to do all of it. And again, I thought what they committed to and what was the township.
Well, wasn't it over what we'd agreed to? By how
Yes.
much?
1,000, it was for the last bill, it was 1,000.
Actually, that was the 1,000 something was a bill that you already approved that was over the 15,000, and that was supposed to be the end. Now we're seeing another bill for $791.34. You committed to $15,000 with them, with the knowledge that if they needed any further money, that they would, or work, they would, that
Right.
board would
Right.
approve it, and that didn't happen.
I think that part of this was that you had different billing cycles. There was, and so we were stuck in between getting apparently the final bill, and I thought that was the final bill. We didn't ask for any work. I asked specifically for them not to do anything additional. So I believe that the issue is being stuck between billing cycles and finishing the payments.
Is there a time entry that indicates what they were working on? Has anyone seen?
One of the, was the meeting that we sat through when I think Linda was there, you were there, I was there, Gerald, Diane. It was a Zoom meeting
I didn't think anybody from their firm was there.
from Taft, I think so.
Was Diane something from Taft there?
In August,
There was some?
yes.
Gerald
That
was-
should-
Gerald
That was
at
the last
meeting.
time that,
Something from Taft in there? Well,
that was the last time they were engaged to do anything. There was some email conversations that they then charged us for to finish up the entire engagement.
it's up to the trustees, but my understanding is what they committed to do and what they got done, were not the same.
I agree, and I believe that that's because that there was issues with getting communication to them to hear anything about what needed to be done. So
That's not what our understanding was in the meetings, though. Remember, they weren't communicating with our staff. That was the understanding. They weren't responding. I thought
that
that's what
wasn't the end of the meeting. The end of the meeting was that they were waiting for information that they were not getting, which is how we then engaged with Janice. So we realized that the information wasn't forthcoming. That's how it ended.
Trustee Robinson, do you recall that?
Well,
Yeah.
if this happened in August, I don't think I was part of it. So it sounds
Highway
like they gave
Commissioner
us
Young was there.
they gave us a report.
I'm rough.
Yes,
I think so. Yeah.
because there was one we were really waiting.
Okay, let's,
Right.
yeah, let's. keep it.
So Mr. Gunn agreed the issue of two payments, one is to the account, and one is to TAP, right?
There's two payments to be cut.
Two payments to the account, okay.
That's because there were
Well,
2 months that were being
In
charged for.
total, how much is that?
in total, each one was 8,000, the other one was 4,000, in total 12,000.
It's important for the community to understand that
Mhm.
why we keep getting in this situation. It's very expensive. The legal and the accounting bills are. I mean,
Mhm.
you've got to pack it.
Okay, and so going back to the rules where there's been a whole lot of conversations and the rules asked for us to,
Apologize.
thank you. So trustee Robinson,
Is there a detailed breakdown as to what supports the invoice?
yes, for each of the
Indicators.
invoices,
I have
there
that right in front of me
are
for
details.
the $8,000. The one you have in question.
Highway Commissioner Young,
There's charges on both, bills that I don't know who instructed her to do anything. And she did some work after that meeting that Diane and just discussed. To develop a spreadsheet that she sent me back in May. I'm not quite sure I understand that.
Okay. So there's certain,
trustee Robinson,
yeah, I think so. Can we-
okay. Any other trustees have any other discussion?
Sorry,
Trustee
to close
Robinson,
out on this, your request is that we not process those bills until we look further at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be your recommendations to go.
It would.
I
We
have
have
a
a
couple
finance
questions.
meeting.
so,
on
to-
Monday.
so trustee McGovern, do you have
I just had a
anything
question about,
to ask?
that's fine, and I asked it.
Any other discussion?
I have a couple questions.
Clerk Palovitz.
One, assessor coverage, I just wanted to check on the JRM object, the 5,000, that's a bill that should be paid. Correct, okay. Supervisor Hewitt, there's one check that we wanna make sure you don't sign. Not a big deal, it's just so it doesn't get signed again, so I'm saying it out loud, so we all remember that. And then there's another bill, it's a reimbursement for you for $775.32. I just wanted to clarify that, I mean, there's hot dogs and soda and chips and senior things and tickets to GA training and so on and so forth, virtual, badges and things like that. The idea of not having a credit card is not that you use your personal credit card. That's not the alternative. In fact, I think it's being discouraged for anyone to use their personal credit card. The idea of not having the credit card is that you plan ahead so these items can be invoiced. I know that there's some things that you say cannot be done by check, but I just wanted to say we now have $775. So us not, or the trustees not allowing the credit card is just being shifted to your personal credit card.
Okay, so, can I have those?
Yeah, well, here, these are.
And so in a normal, township, organization, the senior, and to be very clear about what the expenses were. This one was for the senior lunch and learn. So in order for people to have food, normally that would come from the township, credit card. But because we don't have one that's, that is allowable to use, and we had already committed to having these events, it was necessary to buy them. The GA training doesn't allow for a payment, and that's a normal metropolitan township officials event. So that was because an employee and myself wanted to attend continuing ed. Township officials of Illinois is going to have a virtual event. The ID badges, I mean, these are very, these are basic business expenses that require a credit card to buy them.
Actually, they don't. I mean, maybe
They
some,
do. So in order to buy from,
you understand what I'm
again,
saying, right?
every single one of these requires a credit card to do that.
That's not true. But anyway, the point of this is that it's not that you should use an alternative way, a personal alternative way.
I really thoroughly agree. And so in the
But you're
agenda,
making
we
it
have,
Quiet now?
no, I'm just going to go into the policy that's coming up on the agenda, which is the
Okay.
credit card purchasing policy. So
Well,
if
they
you
could
wanna-
decide if they want to pay it or not, if they
Yes.
feel that it's part of the program or not. So that is the other one. It is signed off on by you and by Gerald Wolf, so I think that part's okay. There's one, well, I could ask this, some other time, but the JRM consulting, the no before. I don't know if you guys are understanding exactly what that is for 1,098. That's the scam. Is that the emails that we're getting to help us be sensitive to scam emails?
So the state of Illinois requires a certain amount of cyber training in cybersecurity. And so this is what is required to allow for cyber training for the township to be secure. So people get a test, they get a variety of different trainings for cybersecurity.
Okay. Maybe we could see, not now, but maybe you could tell us in the future what that program is, or just email what that is. Because I think we're getting emails, but that's about all we're getting. Just a
Sure.
request.
You got it. I'll give you all the information about the cybersecurity requirements for training that we are doing. Any other questions?
That is.
Is there a motion to, or any trustee Geist?
Is that everything that we pulled from the audit of expenditures?
Yes and no. I mean, we talked about the garage door, how it was being labeled as food pantry, but probably should be labeled
Right.
as garage maintenance.
Okay.
Diane, you took care of the IDES payment, so we're not 100% sure if that's now done completely.
So the IDES sent a final bill and they said that that's all that we owe in this final bill. That's why we waited to get this final bill and then we paid it.
Okay.
So
So the
according to IDES, we're done.
Linda Nader bill was on there, the questions.
Right, so we're gonna hold off.
Taft bill was on there. The career networking that it was budgeted was one of our questions, and we looked it up and it was. Then the Diane bill for, a check for 775. And then we just said about the window cleaning, about the. But that's not wrong with the check, that's just questions. Am I missing something?
No, that sounds right. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure that. I'm sorry.
So is there any other discussion or motions to,
Any discussion from you?
I'll make a motion to approve the audit.
I'll second.
it looks like trustee Robinson has,
Well, I'm sorry, but by pulling out,
Oh, sorry.
right?
I make motion to approve the audit of expenditures, removing the checks payable to Nader. And
I could give you check numbers if you want them. You're fine.
yeah. Nader, Taft. And the personal credit card. Oh. Well, yeah. So just those two things.
trustee Robinson, it looks like you're
Well, I'm
still,
still, so. The motion was, and you made the motion to approve all the bills with the exception of the Nader Associates and the TAP, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Want to make sure I understood. Thank you.
No problem.
okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Geist and trustee Page. Any other discussion? In a roll call vote?
Trustee Guys?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes,
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay. That's number 6, 7,
3 is the old 25.
and there's 5. And 25 and 26 are being delayed until the next meeting due to the change in the law that is happening this week. We were working with regarding the mental health 708 fix. So we're going to wait until the next meeting in December to approve the township and 708 and township levies.
So you're pulling both of these? levies?
Yes, as I even earlier, and then so we go to 27, which is discussion and possible action. In resolution estimating the 2023 tax levy for the Lisle Township Road District.
I assume you're going to alter the township levy on the general assistance. You had $100,000 in it in the last 2 years. So far this year, you're up to $154,000. Last year spent $222,000.
We're on agenda item 27 with the discussion on the road district levy.
Was there a motion to defer or table?
We didn't make a motion. Yeah, we did not.
We get to discuss those or not?
I don't.
So if you wish to discuss them, then we can go back to 20, even though the wording is being discussed and the law is changing to amend them. So we can start with 25. Trustee
you-
McGovern.
Bring us to light on amendments that are approaching.
So the veto, how about Ross, give us the legal?
Thank you, Madam
definitions.
Supervisor. Please, the board, the General Assembly is currently considering, and it's moving, I think it just passed actually, a law that will clarify that any 708 mental health board referenda that recently passed. There's a question lingering about the strict compliance with both the Mental Health Act and PTEL, the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, and how that all played and whether these levies, extra levies were legal and what county clerks were going to do, et cetera. And a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. So the General Assembly said, all right, we're going to fix it ish. And it clarified that if you passed it, when this township passed it, for example, it is valid. It's a valid levy. You can levy on it for this year. You're good to go. And so my recommendation would be to just delay on approving a final levy until we know the exact language that is approved and that and how we formulate that with the rest of the levy. And if we have to end up doing it, we have to look just to make sure we don't have to do an extra truth and taxation hearing on it, just because it is a first time levy. But I don't believe we will, but we want to make sure. So that law is,
The resolutions will have to be rewritten, however.
yeah, they'll be updated, yes. But
Did
the
you know
no-
this was approaching as well?
The law, no, a veto session was just this, it's
week.
going on right now. That's
Thank you.
Are we talking about the township levy or are we talking about the 708 levy?
So the clerk's office, as we've been, as I mentioned, has been consulted and they've seen primarily the levies done together, not separately. So they are asking us to do it together in one levy because it's being viewed as a fund, not a different entities organization. So when you look at the Bloomingdale Township, for example, 2018 or 2019 levy, they had it all in one fund or all in one document with the different funds, like essentially within the township, we have the general assistant fund. It would be a different fund, like so in the future, it would be the mental
So
health.
we're talking about both of them?
yes.
Okay. Are you going to adjust the levy for the township for general assistance in increasing that?
And so
And
I
then
think Highway Commissioner Young, you just gave that information to us. I think there's a misunderstanding of some of the numbers the budget numbers that you were using weren't the ones that had been changed in September of 25th of the 23. So this is what was filed and agreed to from us.
It's
And
not the budget numbers that have anything to do with what I said.
okay, and so when it said, my point is that I've looked at, I think there's been some misclassification of numbers. So when we look at, for example, what I would suggest is that on Monday, when we have a moment to pull together more of the information, we can look at those. This classification, for example, in the fund going to Northern Illinois Food Bank really was a grant, was focused on a grant. Paula DeKing Garcia is nodding your head, but right now it's being put under general assistance. So
How
there's
much is the grant?
how much is the grant for totally? 37,000 for this particular amount.
Okay.
And so because we're coming to the end of the season with the grant, we're being asked to finish the allocations of those funds. And so there's a variety of pieces that we need to go through. I've printed up. There has all of the general assistance pieces every month, and I can pass them out to everybody with the exact funding allocations. There's been 0 changes in the funding numbers since January of 2022. The main change has been in differentiation of state funds that were stopped at various points because of the end of COVID. And so we're coming to some adjustments in our everything with regards to that. We also had a tradition historically of underfunding general assistance. And so we've acknowledged this. I would suggest that on Monday, we have this be a conversation that we can go into detail with the time to give everyone the information to do that.
Well, I want somebody to give assurances to the trustees. And we just have passed and approved the general assistance check, I think we approved the warrants, that the fund is in fact not insolvent.
Here's part of the other issue is that we're needing to get to the bottom of where different funds have been transferred to, meaning that last year when we levied, we understood that we levied much less than the funds that we were planning to expend for general assistance, understanding that we had historically not levied enough for general assistance. So it will take some time to catch up with our levy, but we've been paying it from our township fund. And we need to get to the numbers that you've asked for. So and what I would suggest is on Monday, whenever we decide to have the finance committee meeting, that this be a in-depth agenda item to answer.
Upon a cursory review, because we've got this 2 hours. A review of unaudited expenditures versus budget and line items and the total amount.
Budget has nothing to do with it.
It partly, I mean, the amount appropriated in the fund. The amount
Budget
of
has
money
nothing to do.
in the fund.
Levy against
Upon-
cash expended.
Upon a cursory review of the relevant actual numbers. Again, an unaudited review, it does not appear that the general assistance fund is overextended at this current time. Or beyond,
Where were inconsistencies in the numbers I provided?
with the budget and where in the various expenditures. Again, I had spent like an hour to do this, but the budget very much matters because you have that is what you have appropriated. That's what you're allowed to spend. I mean,
Can you spend more money than, can you take the fund balance into a negative territory?
generally no,
Okay. So what's the budget got to do with it? If you spent more money than.
because there's more money in the bank and in the fund than there is in the budget or in than that there's actually in the, that's
If you
actually
go all the way
shown.
back to the other numbers, I'm not sure.
I-
That's fine. Just
I
give
told you
assurances to the trustees that they're
I'm-
fine.
I believe that you are fine.
No, not believe, tell them they're fine.
The other question with that would be, why would we be budgeting 290,000 for GA if we're only taking in $101,000? You know,
That,
that's a
that's
legitimate
something to
question.
consider.
That's secondary to, we have no money
And-
in there.
And it would, this is also something that your accountant would be able to, should be able to very easily present and show.
that's the level of investment we always made in general assistance historically.
Yes, was very much, in historical terms, we generally allowed for $400. In order to get a general assistance, and 450 was when we first started. I don't know anywhere in the township that has, a rental. That would be helpful. When I look at the balance sheet of, for example, the 20 fund. It says 55,000 in here. So when, I think there's a lot of questions that need to be made. And again, we can get back to you, Ed, with the balances, but again, in these, at the balance sheet that the accountant gave us, they're saying that it's solvent. So I agree that there's a lot of questions here, and I suggest that at the Monday meeting, we go into more detail. Any other discussion on the balance?
So
Yes, trustee Robinson.
just so we're tracking the rules of the meeting, do we have to make a motion formally to defer these two action items to the next meeting, 25 and 26?
That would be in order.
Yeah, so I would like to make a motion to defer the resolutions relate to 2023-029 Lisle Township levy and 2023-030 resolution tax levy for the 708 mental health board, deferred until our next board meeting. The approval of this, so.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Robinson and trustee Page. Any other discussion? And a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Robinson,
Yes,
trustee Page.
Yes.
Trustee McGovern, trustee Geist, supervisor Lewis.
Yes. Okay, now we're on 27, discussion and possible action and resolution on the road budget.
We went into the road district. It's changed, when I prepared the preliminary levy, somehow on the, permanent road, I was using 3/4 a year. So this one is $500,000 more than what you looked at last year. It's still less than last year. The last 3 years, the 21 compared to 21 was down 6%. 22 was down 9%, and this one is down 6%. What I did when I put the preliminary together is I put 3/4 of the year to compare. So for that one fund, I took it down to $1.7 million. And the lowest in the last 5 years, there's been 1.9 million. So I would have decreased the fund balance by $200,000. It was just a bookkeeping error. I also want to remind the trustees that I also have, we talked about it at the budget, that I have a capital fund put aside for $1.3 million. That's the fuel station and the truck that we purchased that we haven't received and we don't think we're going to receive until next fiscal year. And then there's 2 vehicles that I have to replace. So I put that money down that we've saved, and I've been able to reduce on an ongoing basis this year's levy down to by 6.7%. And I'll be glad to answer any questions. If not, I'd like a motion to approve.
Thank you, trustee Geist.
Second.
Thank you, trustee McGovern. Any other discussion?
If I may just suggest clarifying to ensure that you're moving to approve the Lisle Township Road District 2023 tax levy ordinance.
And the 3 documents,
Right,
right? The truth and taxation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Covers all 3.
yeah, certification, truth and taxation, and.
And they were all
filing
part
them.
of what I sent out.
Correct.
And I have figured, papers president.
Okay, any other discussion? And then a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Geist,
Yeah.
trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Page.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
yes,
Supervisor Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next is agenda item 9, presentation from David Strike and Assured Partners.
So Diane, were these handed out to?
Yes,
Everyone?
yes.
Okay. So December 1st is your anniversary of your medical plan, Blue Shield. Rates are going up 7%. We did look at United Healthcare as well. They were higher than Blue Cross at 11%. You guys are in the fully insured market, so the only thing that plays a factor in your rate or your age. But there's no health risk involved. It's just a block increase that Blue Cross gives their clients. There's small increases to the out of pocket. For example, plan 5, you guys have 5 people in that plan. The out of pocket went up from $1,250. The Blue Cross plans are set in stone, so we can't make any alterations to them. So every year, some plans make us treat
Thank you, David. Does anyone want to make a motion? And then we can get into discussion.
If staff was happy with this,
Trustee
I'm
Pace?
sorry, staff was
Trustee
happy
Pace?
with this, staff has anything to, everybody's pleased with the presentation with what they're being offered?
I think what's important to the staff is their health insurance quality and how it's.
That's what I'm
used.
asking, have they?
And so I think,
and-
I think Blue Cross Blue Shield is an extremely good, well-liked
I don't
type of-
disagree, I carry it myself.
and so I would say that the staff, from what I hear, would prefer Blue Cross Blue Shield as opposed to United. David, would you say that that's generally
Blue
popular?
Cross Blue Shield in Chicago has probably 70 to 75% of the marketplace. Because of that, doctors, hospitals, all the providers, most of their clients are Blue Cross members. So there's typically just less obstacles to jump over when you're getting your health care, and typically employees are happier under the Blue Cross plan. More than likely, your HR department is not hearing any problems with your benefits.
We don't have an HR department.
Whoever,
Sorry,
someone
we don't
had a
have an-
problem, they don't their plan, they just get.
Yes,
Would anybody like to make a motion?
And we're not a fully insured plan. So we switched.
Maybe,
How long ago did we?
I'm not your broker, but maybe.
And 5 or 6 years. We switched to United because they had a little better pricing. Since that time, we've left the fully insured plan and we're partially self-insured now. So our rates are a little lower, but if our experience goes south, it'll raise. So far, it has. But I think everybody is happy with the network. I don't think anybody complains to me because the fact that we still do stay participating. Pardon?
we had discussion with staff over the insurance, that's my only question, I just want to be assured that staff is been made aware of any changes that they're, I don't want to dump something on them that they don't want.
So this is what they've had for a number of years, I'd say.
15, 20 years.
Okay.
Usually if there's problems with the health plan, we would hear about it, and our
Okay.
advocacy team would get involved, but.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to accept, the, I mean, there's no number to that, but I will make a motion to accept the proposal for.
There's three proposals. There's Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I just want to make sure, or sorry, two.
Yeah.
And United, because the others were really not within.
My vote would go for Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Gene, I spoke with my staff, this year we did get this in a timely manner, we passed it off to the staff. They looked at it, I spoke with all of them, if they wanted to change within the plans. They understood the increase, and they seem, no one at this particular time, when I spoke with them, earlier this week, was bringing the any changes.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna ask the same question that you asked.
So this is actually for the board members. Thank you. And so is there any other discussion here?
Sorry, can you-
Well, I would just ask.
And we don't have a motion here. We have a first and then,
Question.
but we're actually in, that would get in discussion. So we have a motion we have a first. Then if we have a second, then we can get into discussion.
Second.
Thank you, trustee McGovern, for the second. And then we have discussion, trustee Geist.
I'm sure that this is a great plan. And, my only question would be. If there's not even an opportunity for the employees to review it. Just to understand that they have, that's the best plan, if the highway commissioners office does share it and have some discussion, if. Tax assessor's office does share it. My understanding, go ahead.
I think, Highway Commissioner Young.
I have not had discussions with staff after we switched to that. After that, we've evaluated, our broker has come in and evaluated different plans. Of the other state of the United States, and basically the same plan. That was 5 years. So we just renewed that, and I never gave the staff, nobody had a question.
And Highway Commissioner Young, did you change yourself away from Blue Cross Blue Shield, or did you go to United?
I couldn't change.
Okay,
I'm an employee of the township. But I did change recently, and now I'm not. Stay in the township some.
fabulous.
Thank you.
And so I've heard a lot of good things from the staff about the healthcare options with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I haven't heard any complaints at all. And the board packet has been up for some time with all the details. So again, I think we would hear the complaints or any issues, and we're about to go into open enrollment. So people will have options to next month to change the plan that they have. So in order to have health insurance, we would need to agree to having one of these options.
I would like to make a motion to accept.
So we're in discussion. We have the motion accepted for moving for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we're in discussion. So would we like to move into a roll call vote, or would we like to
I was just gonna ask.
keep discussion?
Yes,
Okay,
sorry.
Clerk Paulowitz.
I was just gonna ask, do you have it all set of how you're going to notify the employees? Cause I know last year they didn't know it was open enrollment. So do you have the plan of who's supposed to notify and how that's all going to work?
And the
Yes, ma'am.
increase.
And the increase, of course, yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote on Blue Cross, the motion to accept Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Geist?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, we have accepted Blue Cross Blue Shield. Thank you, David.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have Jill.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to present at your board meetings tonight, especially during a very busy agenda. My name is Bill Ziegler. I'm a senior planner at the Old Highway. And I'm here tonight to request to work with Lisle Township and an intergovernmental agreement that would allow the Morton Arboretum to reimburse the tollway for future aesthetic improvements on one of our bridges. I'll pass out some.
Thank you.
Our I-88 bridge at Illinois 53 is considered a gateway to the Morton Arboretum. And about 15 years ago, the tollway improved the bridge with aesthetic leaves and welcome to the Morton Arboretum lettering. Since then, the aesthetics have become discolored because we've had some water seepage coming up the bridge. We discussed the situation with the Morton Arboretum, and we're willing to update the aesthetics and improve the bridge drainage. And we have preliminary design plans to address the issue with the intention to work on the field improvements in the spring. And then the Morton Arboretum, we're going to take over the cost of updating the aesthetics in the future after we do this in the spring. We would like to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Morton Arboretum to lay out the terms of the agreement. But because they are a nonprofit agency, we aren't able to work with them government to government. This summer, we looked into the possibility of working with the village of Lisle, but it turns out the bridge and the Morton Arboretum are not in the village of Lisle. The bridge is, however, in the township. And so we reached out to the supervisor to request a partnership to see if we could work together. The township could work as pass through with this IGA. And the tollway would handle all costs of construction. And then the Morton Arboretum would take on future costs for updating the aesthetics. So we would write the agreement so that Lisle Township would have no financial obligation. We would endeavor to make the process as soon as possible, appreciating that the township would be a helpful neighbor to both our agencies. So we were hoping to finalize an IGA this winter so that we could start the work next spring. And again, I appreciate your time and I'm here for any questions. I know this is a different class.
Thank you, Jill. Clerk Politz.
I drive by it many times a day. So my question with this is what it looks like existing right now.
Yes.
And so would you be staining this or
Yes.
painting that? And that's not the way it was when you initially did the improvements on the bridge, correct?
Right, the improvements were done in 2008, and then in the spring, we would take the lettering down, sandblast the bridge, improve the drainage, and then restain all the leaves and lettering.
May I suggest that it might be quicker and easier for the toll and reading to go through the industry. We have the authority to enter into such agreements without all of this, and it's more in the road district's bailiwick than it would be. Sure. So if you record responsibility to make sure.
I would be concerned about the drain, the changing or the fixing of the drainage, but you can address that.
It might be nice for the whole township to be aware of some of these great options as well. And that way, coming to these meetings and presenting can be extremely helpful for letting the township be aware of what we're doing and working together.
And that's great that you're doing that.
Yeah,
Thank
really.
Any other questions for Jill? Well, the township would love to work with you, at least,
Thank you.
from my perspective. Thank you.
That's a mark.
Okay, then, we have then back to 11. And where Bob could not make it tonight, so every one of the trustees has a packet. And the last agreement that we had a 90-day requirement to change necessary notice in order to change insurance companies. Trustee McGovern.
I'd like to add that some of this information needs to be updated because we have former employees listed. Under commercial auto. Page 12.
Yes, and make sure that that's amended. There's,
And I'm sorry. Oh, yeah.
So,
trustee Robinson,
thank you. So this is for all our property and our vehicle insurance, correct?
correct, for 21 Ogden, for 47, 11 Indiana, and
49.
47 one.
And I think it covers all my property and vehicles as well.
Yes, it does.
And what's the net increase?
It was.
I saw that number, so that's it.
So 10%.
It's,
20%.
okay, so last year it was 34,000, so it'd be 13,000. And we also had, as you saw, the 140,000 outstanding workers' comp claim. So this is the total. Or, sorry.
The workman's comp, and went up, I think, significantly. And it's primarily because unfortunately I've had a couple accidents. Which definitely, I think that what I saw with respect to my rates, I thought was reasonable. And we've always had a very good working relationship with this one.
Okay, so this is,
Trustee Robinson,
thank you. Property, workers' comp, and
cybersecurity, vehicles,
Pollution control.
pollution control.
Tanks. That's what the.
Okay. And this includes all of 21 Arlington now, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, thank you. So presumably some level of this is recoverable as a landlord against our CAM charges to our tenants, correct? I mean, we have to figure what that looks like, but yeah, we'll get some. But, okay,
Very small.
Yeah, I know here, the workman's comp went up $165,000. And then we have two claims. It's not good.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal of insurance through Connor and Gallagher.
Thank you, trustee.
I'll second the
McGovern.
motion.
Thank you, trustee Page. Any other discussion? And a roll call vote.
Trustee McGovern,
Yes.
trustee Page.
Yes.
Trustee Geis.
Yeah.
Trustee Robinson,
yes,
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay, then, next is agenda item 28. Which is, I heard being postponed until the next meeting on Monday.
well,
I think we
Perhaps.
skipped over 9.
no, we didn't.
9 was done.
Stated.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, so 28, so discussion of possible action on including an outside accountant with authorization. And so would anybody like trustee Robinson may wish to have a meeting on Monday for a finance committee meeting?
Yes, I've already let him know that I'm available.
Oh, okay, so do we want to get to a time,
Yeah, 9 o'clock Monday morning.
9 o'clock Monday morning? Okay.
Work to get the agenda put together for the finance committee meeting.
Okay. So would anybody want to make a motion to postpone this?
I'll make a motion to postpone agenda item number 28, the discussion and action to retain outside accountant. Until do you need the extra until the Monday finance committee meeting?
Thank you. And then a second.
Yeah,
Thank you, trustee Robinson.
sorry. The only, okay, yes, I'll second, but then we should discuss. Board meeting, finance committee meeting can't make a recommendation, right? So it would have to be deferred to the next board meeting.
It would, or we could have a special meeting after that meeting.
It would be a
to
board
finish-
meeting. It would
Right,
be a board meeting, full board meeting.
Right.
Right.
to accept the recommendation.
Right.
How about a motion to postpone consideration of item number 28 until the next board meetings following the finance committee meeting? This has already been committed.
Okay.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, then, any other discussion? And a roll call vote, clerk Collins.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Geis?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, the next question or agenda item is 24, discussion proposals regarding snow removal contracts. Trustee McGovern.
They were kind of hard to see them as equitable because they didn't own the same property. So it's hard because we do not have three full quotes. We have, I would say quote and a half. Because, well, is the bubble house property ours? That was asked but never answered, so we never did get that rate. So I think Bear had a full report. But the others didn't seem to.
I think that some of this is complicated by a variety of different factors, from address, to what they were willing to do, because it sounded like there was previous relationships for some of them. But the intention is that there are more than two bids, and we can go through one by one if you'd like. Trustee Geis.
Where's the bid that I sent over to? I'm sorry, Mr. Wolf, the bid that I sent to you, and then the gentleman asked a question and I said that you.
It's in the pile.
Yeah.
Trustee Geis, it's
Oh, I
already in
didn't
the
see it.
pile, yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, that one is the most desirable to me because for this reason, it's a little shocking to see like $11,000, you know, that people want to, I don't know, I kind of prefer that we pay by the event.
Yeah, and what's nice about that is, we may have a more mild
Right.
winter.
Right,
Also, they already have experience working with municipalities and have experience with code enforcement with, so I thought it was a good find. I mean, I really did a lot of digging to find some good bids that would be cost effective and responsible use of our taxpayers' dollars, so. I think they should be given careful consideration. And just to be clear, I have no personal relationship with anybody that I have heard.
Yeah. I agree that there was a good find with you guys, but we have to understand now. We run a risk because what we're trying to do is predict the weather. We can't really do that. So some people may, like Bear, for example, may give you a seasonal quote, which is a very high number, whereas others may give you an event quote, which may look very reasonable and may look very attractive, but could end up being very expensive till we have an El Nino or La Nina, whichever weather pattern is the weather. So we have to decide, we have to be sound in our decisions for who we use for, and their capabilities for who we use for these projects.
If you're on the side of being prudent with your dollars than just giving $11,000.
How many, well, here's a.
How many times does it have to snow?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, I just did that, that's what I did, it's 31.5 times to equal $11,000 at $350 per event, right, so. Do we plow 31 times in the winter? Is that, I'm looking at the highway commissioner.
Sometimes.
Yeah, would that be considered a heavy winter?
Yeah, last year we hardly ever plowed.
Okay,
We didn't have much
But,
snow.
well,
Well, we always put our plows down.
right.
but are you including the time you put salt?
No.
And you're gonna have somebody come in, when we go out and salt and not plow, you would have to have somebody come in anyway.
Mhm. I don't think that we,
Still like that. That's still been,
I-
trying to say,
It's a crash.
especially based on the situation.
Yeah, and I don't think last year that. Even with the salting, I don't think
that sounds.
And keep in mind the trigger points for most of those bids is 1 inch. No.
Right.
Well, this one has
So-
like 3 to 5, 6 to 8.
There's
The
no
price
way
is
to
going.
go on like 30.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Trustee Robin or trustee Page, do you have something?
I had a thought and now it went away, so if it comes back to me. I'll text it.
Trustee Robinson,
Is there, I haven't looked in detail, is there commitment to a response time that's comparable from the one you've looked across all of them? Like, do they all say, within 2 hours of snowfall or by start of business? I mean, what sort of conditions?
I don't know that you can put them on.
trustee Geist, would you like to speak? Raising
I
your
have to
hand.
raise my hand to answer his question.
Well, here's the thing is that, that's what is required. So, would,
Ask
in
the
order to,
question.
okay, so in the rules, we raise our hand in order to speak. Would anybody like to speak? Trustee Geist?
Okay, I apologize. To answer your question, I think that that's a little difficult to expect of anyone because you just don't know how many properties are, how big the property, I mean, you have to understand that you have to be patient after a big snowfall. It may be 2 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, I think, if anybody would be able to predict the accuracy of that, they should. I mean, not being facetious, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that anybody can guarantee. I don't even know if I would trust anybody to tell me that,
Thank you. So there's no difference in the wording of the proposals relative to that condition. Okay, thank you. That's all we're trying to get at.
Trustee Page?
Two things, I recalled my. Question, if you guys, can we get him to bid out the cost to just come and sell?
Trustee Geist?
I'll be happy to ask him.
Gerald, have we, I mean, we're kind of running out of time before the snow comes. So not making a decision, do we want to, delay this until Monday? Trustee Page?
My question is to, Assessor Tolbert, who is currently providing your building that 2121 Ogden building that service?
No one. The contract expired.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Geist?
In the event we have not secured a contract with the snow removal service, Commissioner, is there any possibility that you would be able to help us in an interim solution if there were to be a large snowfall before we can resolve?
Certainly, the only one caveat I do is that. We can do it, but I can't guarantee that we're able to succeed. But if my people are out on the streets because we haven't looked at that, I can't have them stop because we think they're busy. Within 2 or 3 hours, I would assume. Depends upon, if it's a major event where we're getting feet of snow, it's not. But if it's a normal snowfall, yeah. we'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
And one other thing. Fallouts in 2014 were 48, fallouts in 2015 were 26.
Okay.
So it's a total roll of the dice as to whether we get lots of ice, whether we need lots of salt or snow. Gerald, please.
So, Session Progress had we had a little discussion and we had a couple of companies that did as well, and they were saying that they could, in the event of a snow event, they could have the work done before the start of business, when we start. So in terms of timing, morning, now, in terms of the snow continuing to fall, they did say that they would have to wait until the snow stopped to come back. But the initial, to keep the parking lots clear, they would do it before the start of business. Also, there's some, and I think with the road district, I think when it comes to the 21 building, their equipment is kind of large to get down the hill out back. So I don't know if they could actually plow back there.
Well, we can get back there. It's all great cars and drill, that's the problem.
Trustee Geist, did you have something?
I was gonna say, I think the best person to speak to that question would be the highway commissioner and staff.
Right.
That's your lane. No pun intended.
Any other discussion? Jean or Trustee Page?
Understanding that this is something that we really do need to have in place before we get a major event, is this something we can put off until Monday? If we're gonna have the special meeting.
Yeah.
Right after we can potentially have the additional information that we're seeking, and we could put this onto the Monday agenda?
Is the only question the amount of times individually for salting? Is that the only question you want us to get? Or is there any other questions so that we can make a decision? And Gerald,
it's actually,
Marty will make a commitment to cover you for your next meeting.
thank you.
Thank you.
Gerald,
Okay, so we'll have to decide whether or not we're gonna include the building that's next door to the 21 building, because I think one of the vendors, if not two of them, who bid, also included in their bids shoveling and salting that building, because I think it's vacant now. And they had a different vendor who was moving that snow for them, that salting for them. And we were unsure if we wanted to include that, because that one driveway splits it right in half. So we don't want to say, we just plow half of the driveway. We have to decide whether or not we're going to include that building.
okay, and thank you, Gerald. So that would help get a more uniform bidding. So would we like to include that building, because in all likelihood, people are parking there for the building that you all have? The 21 Assessor Trowbridge.
I spoke with the new property owner of that property. He indicated that he was willing to split costs with us. If we would have one vendor, he was willing to look at that. So, as soon as we get a bid in place that we can forward to him, if the board looks to approve, I can present that to him and see if they're willing to split the cost.
Thank you.
So we'll come back on Monday with the bids, with the neighbor included, and with salting options individually as an option. Any other changes in the bids that you would like? Okay, then would anybody like to make a motion to postpone it?
I'll make a motion to postpone, agenda item number 24, the discussion and proposal of snow removal contracts for 3711 Indiana and 2121 Ogden Avenue until Monday.
Thank you, Trustee Page. And then is there a second?
Second reading for our next meeting.
Thank you, Trustee McGovern. And then any discussion? No, Trustee Page or Trustee Geist? It sounds like you.
I'm confused. I thought we just agreed that we would cover the property for us and we wouldn't have to make a decision until our next monthly board meeting. Okay. I thought we just agreed to that. That's why I was confused. I was like, wait, what just happened?
Sorry. Okay, no, we're good.
Okay, so that's gonna be moved to the next monthly meeting. I do believe that if that happens, I frankly would recommend moving it to the Monday meeting because a number of the contractors are filling up their schedule and they're telling us that if we don't sign up, then we're gonna lose our spot. So a number of them are gonna fill up their schedules and we won't have some of those bids as even an option.
Good point.
So could we, is Monday, well, we can have those changes.
Well, what are the questions that are keeping us from making a decision today? What is really?
The two
precedent?
questions that you were asking for us to get more details are individual salt, or the board what I heard from the board is that you'll get an individual quote for salting options so that you can have a decision. Basically, do you want to bid it as a season or as an individual time that we're going to need them because we don't know how many times it's going to snow or we'll need salt. The other question is that we'll have the bids, including the neighbor next door, so that we can all have the same bid. So it'll have, by Monday, the split cost will be all one, it'll be all one.
Okay, thank you.
It's Monday's committee though,
Right, and then
so
afterwards, we would have a second meeting to finalize that at the special meeting.
So I recommend the motion to postpone to the next board meeting and refer to the finance committee for further consideration.
Thank you.
Something like,
So moved.
Thank you, trustee Page, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Robinson. Any other discussion? Clerk Ballard?
Okay, we had a first from trustee Page and a second from trustee McGovern to postpone it. You changed it, so
It's amending the postponing
was from
meeting.
trustee who postponed it, the second page and okay.
And then any other discussion? In a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Geis, Supervisor Hewitt?
Yeah. Okay, agenda item 5 is the accountant's report. And trustee Geist,
We're not gonna read through this. We all have a copy.
right,
Okay, fine.
and is, okay, so we're going, is there any discussion or we're gonna move on to agenda item 8? Trustee
Yeah, I just,
Robinson,
it said that there's some questions in the audit related to highway department motor fuel tax. You're aware of all those questions or you've had a chance to respond to them?
I think I have. I
Okay,
mean,
fine. Okay.
okay,
I'm not questioning. I just saw it here. I didn't know if it was still an open issue.
you asked a question, now I'm gonna give you my answer. Yes, I answered the question, but I was surprised they even asked the question because the information was on the web in the state. So they had township experience.
Thank you.
okay, then agenda item 5 is done. Moving on to agenda item 8, supervisor's report. As you can see in the operations report, it has been a busy week. The food pantry has done a fabulous, and the receptionists have done a fabulous job at helping to get registration processes going for the township. And as you can see, we had a busy food pantry month. The senior services had an extremely busy time with the opening enrollment for Medicare. And with their ship service, it has been seniors healthcare insurance plan. It's been extremely busy as well with LIHEAP. and that has been busy for general assistance as well. Finance has been working through the audit, and we're coming upon the end of our extension there. Transportation program has continued to grow with up to 200 rides this month, and we have 20 new registrants. It's been growing continuously every month. Passports took a little slowdown. I think people are not traveling as much internationally for the season. The receptionists have been doing extremely well. And so it's been an extremely busy month. The next agenda item is 15, discussion and possible action on ordinance number 2023-10, an ordinance authorizing and adopting an amended purchasing policy, payable policy and procedure for Lisle Township. Trustee Geist?
I have 3 questions. My first question is, who authorized or initiated the conduction of this work? Second, at what expense has this been to us cumulatively, all of these ordinances that were created? And why was this not, brought to the board to decide if this is something you felt that you needed to do?
So
3 questions, 3 answers, just short. It's possible.
So not having a purchasing policy is, I think, this was actually passed in March, and we realized that you needed an amendment to this. So this came up some in the last few months, and so this has been something that we've been discussing since August, I'm thinking, as well as it's a normal thing in a township to have township attorney Ross Sackler. Would you have anything to add?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Supervisor. So I believe this was, well, this and the 3 adjoining policies and ordinances for the township's board's consideration have been on the agenda and are again on the agenda, but have been under discussion for quite some time. In particular, at the board's special board meeting, the board voted and directed me as the attorney to prepare and fix the account payable policy and the credit card policy. And with that, with the expense reimbursement policy is in the credit card policy, my recommendations are to separate them out into the 2 other different ordinances and policies. And I can get into why and explain that, but that's where this came from, is to make this legal and correct and clear. Because there was a lot of discussion and issues about definitions and procedures with the prior resolution, which was adopted by resolution and not by ordinance. And also to change the limits about certain dollar thresholds where spending can occur prior to authorization, including some of the board requests for certain expenditures to get pre-consent of 2 trustees. That had all been discussed with unrestricted amounts, and defining what quotes and bids are, how that process has to look like. This is, frankly, the dollar thresholds are lower than in most townships, but this is it's spelled out a little bit more extensively, I'd say, in this one, to make it as clear as humanly possible. But it is a very standard and recommended policy to have in any functioning township.
Well, we had a policy, we shouldn't have an ordinance.
Trustee Geist?
Right. Yeah.
And
Trustee Geist?
well, no, we haven't answered my other questions, so I want to know, I just want to understand,
the cost.
Okay, so what, do you feel like you have your answer?
I
board-
have the answer to why we created an ordinance when we had a policy that we all agreed to. And I didn't feel like there were any questions. I don't know that any of the trustees at this table felt there were questions. You just continued to make different choices. That's neither here nor there at this point. I'm just asking now, at what expense was this to create? I just want to understand this so that we understand every time we do something, we're chipping away. So when people get frustrated with us, we're chipping away at our budgets. So just what was, do you have the bill? For this?
Not for that specifically, but it was a $12,000. The bill was $12,000.
So again, the board directed Ross to do those changes at the last meeting,
At the special.
at the special meeting. Trustee McGovern.
This relates to resolutions and ordinances. So a resolution was drawn up on Tutoring Tuesdays, and I requested it not to be, since it is not a program that is currently. The resolution was not drawn up.
I just asked if you wanted, that's all, and or if you wanted anything with that to make it, that was it. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was built for that, so.
Okay. Thank you.
So, trustee Robinson.
I wasn't part of, I don't think I was part of that meeting, but I
Yeah.
thought there was some concerns around what was stated earlier in the resolution versus a number that was later in the resolution relative to approvals, particularly around the credit card usage. So I think you were directed to help resolve that in consistent language.
Yes.
Right, okay.
There were numerous inconsistencies, there were numerous things that needed updating anyways, and there were numerous items that the board unanimously, less Trustee Robinson, who was out of town, wanted to limit and further lower some of those pre-authorized approvals, and to importantly include specifics in here on the, there should be in here, the pre-approved, the general, every monthly bills, and like the gas or water and stuff, that those just get paid, those are included, like those are recurring expenses. To just kind of define those as what the township can just pay.
So, I saw trustee Page's hand up. Okay, trustee Geist.
So if we look at, if we could go to the ordinance about the credit card use.
So we're
We're doing all the ordinances at once.
so the agenda item is ordinance 2023-10, authorizing and adopting a purchasing policy. So there's a variety of pieces in this, like pilots.
So I think at that meeting, there was some ambiguity of the way it was written in the initial policy that I think we wanted that cleaned up. I also, I know I sent like a lot of red parts to the purchasing policy that there's no discussion, nor were a lot of it incorporated. I think where we're at with the purchasing policy is we don't have a proper flow of this. We don't, like, for one thing, we don't have anybody checking off that it's being received. And the person that should be receiving it and marking off that it's received and we actually have it should be someone other than the person who is ordering it and the person who is paying it. So it may seem like quite a few steps, but most all companies have a purchase ordering, person designated to order the products. So for instance, you either have your operations manager or your department heads who want something, they put a proposal together, they sign off on it, that is something that they want. The supervisor shouldn't be asking for anything. The supervisor should be okaying all the requests or not okaying the request. At that point, it should go to another person who would then make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. Does it have to go to board approval? Do you have board approval? Do you have the bids that you need because it's over $1,000, or do you not have the bids? Because, so now it goes back. That person can then order the product then it comes in and it's received by the person, then everything's put together and given to finance, who then makes sure, double checks that it's all within budget as well, after the purchase order person. So it sounds like a lot of steps, but it flows and it's checking on everybody. And, it's checking on the levy, it's checking on the budget, it's checking on the person, it's checking on, did we receive it? Are we using it? Why are we using it? And that's not reflected in the purchasing policy that was set before us. The other things that I think we wanted to add into there were the numbers to be lower. I think you need to define the department heads. I also said, not ordered, but requested by the department heads. I kind of labeled that all out. I think we have some of the numbers wrong in here.
So,
There were some others. Okay, when we're saying minimum of 3 written quotes, I think the one thing that we had was to say to have prior board approval with the written quotes attached to the documentation. Not that we just have written quotes, but you want to see the written quotes. And if it's verbal quotes, they need to be documented somehow. So if they're asked for, they can be seen, not just you got the verbal. I think you got it.
okay, so we didn't get any of that from our, I
That's not
didn't
true. You
get,
did receive it.
I
All the
received it
trustees did.
and there were certain elements of those red lines and proposals that I don't recommend, but the board can do as it deems and make various edits. I tried to, where they would work, I incorporated your red lines or where I understood them. But I believe that this does lay out a good procedure in order if the board wants to make amendments. That, of course, that's their prerogative, but that's.
Would we want,
so, trustee Geist.
I want to speak to what Florence has said. She's right. So if someone spends, $150 there, $85 there, and we just have a bunch of receipts, we don't know that all of those items ever even made it to the township. We don't know because there's no system, there's no checks and balances. And so what we're asking for is if we're going to have purchases made and we're going to be approving, reimbursements, that we really know that all of the items that were purchased actually make it into one of these buildings. I know, and it's not to say that anyone is suspect, it's just checks and balances. And, when we do the audit of expenditures, I mean, there's a lot of receipts. There's no way for me to know, did that receipt really align up to that product, or what is that receipt? Because sometimes it's just dollar amounts, right? And then, did it come into the building? How did it get used? Like, that's why it's so important to have a purchasing policy that includes an ordering system, a PO system, accounts receivable, receiving receivables, and it's not to make it bureaucratic or cumbersome. It's just so that we're not just, you could spend up to this amount. 6 rolls up here, 6 rolls. I mean, we really don't know. And again, that's not to say that anyone is doing anything suspect, but it's, you have to, it's risk management, right? So in order to manage risk, you have to know what the risk is. And the risk is that everything is not necessarily clear or accurate. Is by putting a system in place, I think it does need to be more specific for us. I really do.
So if anybody would like to give any words that would like to be used for amending, or do you wish to postpone this to another meeting?
I think we could send them notes.
Yeah, if it's possible, I'm happy to get on the phone and go through and explain why some of that it's what I didn't understand or didn't, and we can go through and I can redline and update it accordingly.
Thank you.
That's really not an issue. for us, thinking about how to define department head, here it's a little different, right? So, I agree, so we can add some more definition, or just like to walk through it.
Trustee Robinson,
Are we only talking about the purchasing policy or is it?
that's
the other
the
two as
agenda
well?
item that
We're only talking about the purchase, that's
Yes.
part of the agenda. Got it. Okay, thank you. All right, so action item. Okay, there is an action. Item.
So the action that we're going to do is continue to edit this, this resolution. And it's going to be postponed until the next meeting, general meeting, or till the next.
Right, next one.
Okay, so does anybody want to make a motion to do that? Highway Commissioner Young,
Is there a requirement, I'm sorry, is there a requirement that somebody acknowledges they received the good service in all purchases?
Now, there's no requirement that someone really do it, but the board should at least have knowledge.
Well,
of
somebody's
that.
gotta have.
Yes.
Provide comfort to the board that
Yeah, that's fine,
the
that's
tire came in, the service was rendered, whatever.
right.
and
That's
most
not
of the,
part of it now.
and most of the time, it's frankly being done the time that it's being done, meaning that like. We're usually receiving the product when it's being purchased. So very rarely are we waiting for something to come.
But even then, how are the trustees knowing that that's you received?
So frankly, it's generally, in the past, the only person that had the ability to purchase anything was myself. And as soon as I got it, then, it was known. And so, and generally I was purchasing it at the time and receiving it at the time.
So I'll make.
Trustee Geist,
I'll just quickly, that may be true. But when we had that situation where we had $1,200 worth of lights and other miscellaneous things. We don't know if they came here, we just don't know. Again, not saying anyone did anything wrong, but there has to be a system in place just to make sure everything is set. So.
and the main system has been that we don't order very much, and it's extremely clear what we're ordering when we get it. And Clerk Pollitt?
I just wanted to offer a suggestion that instead of, I'm thinking of our expenditures here. Would a couple trustees be willing to work with me and we could start working with the purchasing policy and kind of make something that looks halfway decent? And then we could, tie you into this too, to make sure it's legal of what we're doing, instead of having you rewrite and then we say we don't like it and then rewrite again. Would that work?
Okay, any other discussion, Assessor Trowbridge?
Yes, and my question is gonna be for this as well as the other ordinances that are in place. You stated that there were inconsistencies in the previous resolutions that were passed by the board, is that correct?
I believe so, that was part of the issue.
And what, there were some, you're suggesting that some of the trustees were suggesting some changes be made. And based on what I'm seeing here, it looks like the inconsistencies were part of what was going on with these resolutions that you completely started from scratch. So my question to you is, I'm assuming there were more than just one inconsistency where you could have just made a little bit of a change. So you had to, instead of making a couple changes to the resolutions that we already had in place, you thought, and I'm gonna put my words in, and you can agree to them or not, you agreed that those resolutions were fatally flawed to the point where you had to rewrite the entire, completely scrap the resolution and create a new ordinance.
Respectfully, I didn't fully scrap the prior one. I really didn't. If you look at what the resolution you had in place, there's significant similarities. What I added were some further definitions, changed the numbers and thresholds, and added more definitions, and I took out and made it a separate policy, a real credit card policy, and the real employee expense, employee and elected official expense and travel expense reimbursement policy, which were all kind of meshed together in portions of the prior resolution. So those are the most substantial changes. I didn't rewrite the whole thing, so that's a mischaracterization.
So, but there was no way that you could just change a few things and add a few descriptors, as you were stating, and still make those resolutions work.
No, I didn't believe. So there would not be my recommendation, especially based on what the board's direction was and the substantial changes that they wanted to see.
So
That's
the resolutions that were put through were fatally flawed.
I don't know if they were fatally flawed, but they didn't work. Yes, they were.
Okay,
And-
and the reason I'm asking this,
Yeah.
not to put you on the spot, but the taxpayers of Lisle Township paid for each one of those resolutions that we're now going in and addressing in forming an ordinance. And we're spending an inordinate amount of money doing this in multiple times. And that's my statement. And I think if there's something that was wrong with the previous ones, I think we should get our money back for what was provided.
Clerk Pollitt.
And then on the 9/14 meeting, that was that special meeting that we had. It was a motion by trustee McGovern to have the township attorney amend the existing purchasing policy resolution 2023-10 to reflect the supervisor's office to have no debit cards and only one credit card. This is to be used for emergency only up to $1,000 within a 30-day cycle, which is to be held by the finance department and will require 2 trustees' signatures for use. That's what we said about the purchasing policy. We added that all together. That's all we did with the purchasing policy.
Okay, any other discussion?
No, I believe that there's more notes to it, but that's, and the credit card stuff is in the credit card.
But everything she described in the minutes is in there.
I believe in the credit card policy.
But no, but we'll get there. We'll get.
Is there any other questions?
I just want
Trustee
to make a
Rock.
motion to defer approval of ordinance number 2023-0210 related to authorization and purchasing account payable policy until the next monthly board meeting.
Okay, thank you, trustee Robinson
Second.
and trustee Page. Any other discussion? And then a roll call vote.
Trustee Robinson,
Yes.
trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Dice.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay, next is agenda item 16, which is discussion and possible action on ordinance number 2023-7. An ordinance establishing and adopting a policy governing reimbursement of elected official employee travel, meal and lodging expenses, and necessary employee expenses for Lisle Township. And this is a very basic policy that normally is in place by now. And we're making sure it is in place. Meaning that, Township Attorney Ross, the state requires this.
So there were parts of this in the prior purchasing policy. It wasn't all up to speed, so to speak. It also includes, there's for the boards, a few years ago, the state of Illinois passed a requirement that certain necessary employee expenses be reimbursed. And it's for employees, that those being reimbursed. And so this provides a standardization for one, you have for elected official and employee travel, meal, and other those types of expenses. There's a specific law that requires either certain levels of approval or for elected official for board approval before those expenditures for those reimbursements can be made. And then and this defines what the maximum amounts of the reimbursements are, et cetera, whether for employees or otherwise. As well as then for those any necessary employee expense reimbursement and how those actually get approved or reviewed, and there's sample forms provided.
Trustee Geist.
What do the expenses of, say, the senior program, how do those fall under? Does these speak specifically to travel and entertainment? Like, what's the purchasing policy? And who's approving it? So if we, for example, go to a township meeting, right, a state role, we have to come to you as a supervisor to get approval to attend?
No, the township board has to get township board approval, members of the township board.
So I come to the board of trustees.
And for the senior services, I'm sorry, it depends on. First, it would be the best practice for some of that is to, pay from the township directly or et cetera. If an employee needs to do something and seek reimbursement for some sort of necessary cost or expenditure, then I believe in here it goes through approval and who approves in what in levels and such. Those are mainly though employee related. If like someone, for example, if someone needed to be at the highway district, if someone needed to be on call for snow and had a specific, didn't have a township or road district phone and needed to use their cell phone for their work, and it was their personal phone, there's a provision that if we define that as defined, the township could reimburse certain expenses related to your cell phone because it's being used to be on call for snow removal or something like that. It's something like that.
Trustee Robinson.
This stands alone, right?
Yeah,
This
is a
is
standalone.
not really tied to any of the previous discussion we had around.
Correct.
Okay.
This is separated out because it was, like I said, it was kind of snuck into the prior resolution and it was not sufficient.
Trustee Geist or trustee McGovern.
I did not read anything about no alcohol included with meals. And I don't know, usually you need that.
In there.
It's a definition of meal under page. It's B4 meals. Means food, beverages, snacks, water, and other refreshment that does not include alcohol or personal supplies for which expenses are incurred by employees or officials while on official business.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make the motion to approve ordinance 2023-007, establishes and adopt the policy governing reimbursements for elected official, employee travel, meal, and lodging expenses, and necessary employee expenses for Lisle Township.
Thank you, trustee Robinson.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, trustee Page. Any other discussion? And then a roll call vote, clerk Pollard's.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Geist? Supervisor Hugh?
Yes. Okay, the motion passes, and then we're next on to number 17. Discussion on possible action on 2023-8, an ordinance approving and adopting a credit card use policy for township. Trustee Robinson.
Attorney Secretary, I remember when this came up at the last meeting, there was some concern that this was tightly tied to the purchasing policy. Is it still appropriate to consider it independently of approving that earlier?
I think we should probably consider them together, and then we could also go through with some of this. I only received comments from Madam Clerk, but I can see where, we address other concerns and issues. There are certain things that I do strongly recommend having a township credit card here to make certain purchases and have, like, the Office 365 or the Google accounts that, for an example. But there are, I understand that there are probably some other concerns and questions, and I'd be happy to, but it would be best to just consider those together.
And so, like, for example, our QuickBooks access is paid for by a credit card, and it's gonna come up soon, and it's next month, and it's $700. Trustee Geist.
Is this in a line with what we had agreed to with the credit card purchasing was here with the township? Is my understanding what we had agreed to is that the cardholder would be the finance person. And here it says again and again, cardholder, supervisor, cardholder, supervisor. So I just thought we had an agreement that. I thought that was.
I
If I'm reading, I could be reading it wrong. It's getting like.
And I apologize if that's truly what the board wants. At the first meeting, I believe on the 13th of September, there was discussion about having a purchasing card with, like Costco or something like that. That there was some discussion about those types of options. That's why it was in here as a potential option for the board. And then beyond that, the credit card holder, there's an issue with having it just as the finance department. One, because what is that here? And two, and who is that? Who actually has that authority? More so, the township supervisor is the township treasurer by statute. So that's where that is put in. I understand the hesitation and the issues, and happy to discuss those further and how to deal with that. But, just having a defined as someone in the finance department, I don't know if that solves much.
Well, that may be true, but we had a very clear, we made a very clear vote, and this is not in sync with what we had agreed to. And the reason why we had the vote that we did, the reason why we had the vote of no confidence we did, is because of the spending. And so we were trying to just bring that, remember, so.
Yeah, so, and part of it too, it was motion to direct me as the attorney. To amend this resolution and about and to get rid of the debit card and one credit card only with $1,000 limit. And with the approval of the two trustees. And the only reason I didn't do that and again, you're the board, you do as you will fit, is to make sure that the dollar amounts were consistent with the purchasing policy. So the 1 cent to the $500 would be is there because that's what is in the purchasing policy. The board wants to change that. I just would recommend changing it for both.
Yeah, I see.
And you see, and I did include the two trustee consent. It's also reflected in the purchasing policy.
Trustee Geist.
The challenge with that is that you can take an expense and break it into $500 increments or $490 increments. So I think, I don't know, I don't want to speak too much about this. I want to know what my fellow board members think. I don't want to keep, I don't want to keep driving this. I want to be a dead horse if we're not on the same page, but I just thought that that's what we agreed to.
So I would like to make a motion to defer this into the next monthly meeting. And then subject to ongoing discussions, I think the clerk, and she indicated a couple of trustees participate in a review of these documents, provide them back to the attorney.
Fair.
As to your point, consistency across all the board members. And then we revisit it at the next board meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Robinson and trustee Page. Any other discussion?
I would just suggest that, we are living by in the supervisor's office, until we get this fixed, we're living by what the motion was on September 14th.
And you're saying which motion that you're
So
saying?
I'll read the motion again. It said it was a motion by trustee McGovern to have the township attorney amend the existing purchasing policy to reflect the supervisor's office to have no debit cards and only one credit card. This is to be used for emergencies only, up to $1,000 within a 30-day cycle, which is to be held by the finance department and will require 2 trustee signatures for use.
Okay,
So we're not using the credit card right now, are we?
no, we're not. Using a credit card at all. Okay, so,
But you're using your,
That's
so
how
we are using, you know.
so there are expenses, so, again, so if you wish for all the employees to individually incur their own expenses for township related business, I think the employees have already said that that's not acceptable for them. So, that's where it's at.
Not at all what was said.
That's an overemphasis of
Oh,
emotion
okay,
and
so
sense of logic,
it's not,
which is very common.
okay, so
That's not what we
again,
said. We didn't say all employees. We've been asking, if there's an expense, get a purchase order, get an invoice. Let's do things the right way so that there's a tracking system. This, we are overspending consistently.
Trustee Geist, if we look at our P and L, we are not overspending consistently. Okay, then, moving on to agenda item. Roll call vote. Or sorry, roll call vote, Clerk Politz.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
Yes.
Trustee Dice, Supervisor, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Supervisor, Trustee Dice.
That was really fun.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay, moving on to agenda item 18, proposed procedure for the township newsletter, email newsletter. It is not in any way meant to take away from the printed version, which would reach every single person. This is only intended from an audience perspective to be focused on people that are interested in more timely, in a monthly piece of information, intergovernmental partners and what have you not.
So
Trustee Geist.
what happened to Michelle being responsible for creating the newsletter?
So,
Like the operations manager and the supervisor creating a communication tool. It's such a. You have great staff, educated staff, articulate workers staff. And I don't understand why we would, you're gonna have to give me a really good reason why we would take that.
It's
That responsibility with, and you and Mr. Wolf would respond. Don't you have enough to do? Like, why would we take a responsibility away from a competent staff member? We are, part of. I am perfectly flawed. God made me perfectly flawed, so hear me when I tell you this. There's nothing perfect about me. I don't claim to do. But what I do know is that great leaders lead. They empower their people. They trust their people. This to me is so offensive. I just hope people keep working for you.
are you finished, Trustee Geist?
Yeah.
Okay, and to be clear, as we're going through this, from a technical perspective, we want to make sure that everybody is able to do what they're wishing to do, and so nothing is being taken away from anyone. This is something that again, if you want to go into it, this can be brought up in executive session if you want more details for this, but the idea is to make the process something that the board agrees to before the staff then take it on, because it sounds like there's a lot of input from the board that you all would like to have, and so we want to make sure that the staff has clear direction before they take responsibility for something. And so in order for staff to have a clear direction, we're looking to you all to give us the input that then would be related to staff. So any other details that you wish to amend on here, discuss? Trustee Robinson.
Is it just free form, or is there like a structure, like we want to communicate consistently month over month around a number of
Yes.
consistent topics?
Yes, there's a whole lot of consistent topics that we really want to consistently deliver, and that's where we want to make sure that we're giving the staff the direction that they'll need in order to, and it's coming from the board. So we start here with board discussions and input, and helping them understand what the township is looking for. So the discussion is very important for the staff to have the direction that they'll need. Clerk Politz.
Just a couple questions. Some of us have given you articles for it. So those will be incorporated into the newsletter.
And so what we need to agree, and that's partially why we wanted to have some understanding of the expectations, meaning if we were to be given 3 or 4 pages from individuals of content, it's really hard to then edit it. So if we can agree to a word count, that then would be able to not have to be edited. So if we had an agreed understanding and expectation and create this process, then it's going to be a whole lot easier to continue. And I made sure that everybody understood that this was going to be on the agenda, that we're needing to work out the process with the board and discussions like this, to know what you all would like from a direction perspective for what we would like to do from a communication perspective. Most of the entities for example, park districts and the library have a monthly newsletter that is extremely informative and helpful to get. And so we're trying to keep people informed about the programs that we have and the changes that go on in the month. And we're making sure that all employees and all officials are included in a way that allows you all to have the message that you all wish to have.
Okay, that's great, but I'll forward you an article for it that I would really, is it going to be in there? It's thanking our community members for the donation and for their time. So if you're gonna eliminate it out of there, I would like to know.
I'm not
because-
eliminating anything. Again, right now, the procedure,
Okay, well, if
nothing
you
has
do
been.
eliminate, if you do decide to eliminate my article in there, please let me know, because that was my way of thanking our community members for their really good donation and their time and their efforts for the food pantry. So just let me know that. That's number one. Are we going to see it prior to it going out?
And so so here's where we go and see exactly that. The only editing, number 5, a hard copy will be distributed in the board packet on Fridays before the board meeting. There'll be an agenda item to allow for full discussion.
And that'll be before it goes out.
This is at
Because
the agenda
if it
item
doesn't-
for the meeting. And so this is all intended to be on a very regular basis. So every month, at the last Monday of the month, the idea is that anyone that has any articles can submit them to the newsletter. We're not intending to cut any of the articles at all. The only thing that we're asking for is a 75 word limit, because we will not be able to have a unlimited word limit for everyone. It would be a very, very long newsletter. And there's also character limits in some of the, some of the, um, in the program.
Okay, the one other question is, I noticed you put in MailChimp as the software to be used. Do we have a paid version of MailChimp, or is this our way of knowing that you're going to be purchasing MailChimp?
So MailChimp doesn't charge until you have 2,000
Right,
people. We would be far under 2,000 for years.
okay, so
there's-
you're intending it'll be under 2,000.
It's a very,
Okay.
it's only intended for intergovernmental people and people that would sign up, so it would take quite a bit to get an email list of over 2,000.
Okay,
Constant Contact is the other main software that would be used, and you have to start paying immediately. So this is free. There's no cost associated with doing this.
please, sorry.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay,
I should make a motion to approve the procedure.
are we going to make a motion to approve the procedure, or do you wish to delay it to another meeting?
I thought we were gonna talk about some of the roles in
Oh, yeah.
executive or personnel.
Okay, so we will postpone it to the executive committee or to another meeting.
We just postpone it, I guess, later in the meeting or later, or to the next, or to the special meeting that immediately follows, whatever the board wants to do, or
Or not do anything.
I'll be looking over the job descriptions. Who's the head of communications here?
So we're staying on this one topic of the proposed procedure for the email newsletter. Does anybody
I'm not
want
ready to accept because of job descriptions.
well, just maybe move to postpone it indefinitely and then, or move to postpone it to a, you know, the next.
Timing's fine.
Yeah.
Like when to submit.
Yeah.
Word facts, but. So I would
Trustee
make a motion to
Robinson?
postpone this to a future. meeting.
Okay, thank you, trustee McGovern. Any a second? Thank you, trustee Geist, and any other discussion? And a roll call vote?
Trustee McGovern,
Yes.
trustee Geis, trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay, next is the supervisor's office schedule and the proposed board meeting schedule. The main piece that is different this year, there's
Right here, did you want to talk the recycling program?
Yeah, that's 20, recycling. We just got down to 19, 20 is recycling option discussion. I didn't see anything in the packet about that.
19.
I didn't have.
Okay, so, and this is why you didn't see anything, is because this is discussion. And the options are very limited. So if you give me a moment, trustee Geis, I will discuss the option issue. Is really in zoning. And so the village of Lisle, there's three main options that you all had been given. And the zoning that we have is industrial. The storage containers that we were looking at that are that the representative from Connor and Gallagher had given us as options that we had discussed are not possible in the village of Lisle because they require it would be a permanent feature. And after discussing this with the village, they don't allow that. And we would have to have gotten a continuous permit to do so, which really wouldn't be possible on an ongoing basis if we were to have bought them. So this comes back to, what are your choices? The main choice that you have is to, according to the zoning that we have, is to think about building a enclosed space for collecting the recycling materials. We don't incur, meaning that something that would be accessible to cars when they come up. That would be something that you would have to decide on whether you would wish us to pursue that. If not, the current situation will work. So I need a direction from you all as to what you all wished. Trustee Geist.
Well, first and foremost, I've had conversation with the Village of Lisle about the recycling program, and they just didn't understand why we were duplicating this effort. Because it's something that they already offered, to the extent they reduced the number of times they offered it because the demand wasn't quite there. I think I think one of the things that we could really do a better job at is looking at, the other taxing entities and learn how we could be partnering. So instead of reinventing wheels that already exist, collaboration. So collaborating, I mean, that was what they said to me, like, why are we not collaborating? So are we not communicating? Are we just deciding what we want to do and just operating in a silo? I mean, who's having conversations to understand what resources are already available so that we can be taking advantage of them?
So we very much have been collaborating with the Village of Lisle. Their program is very different than ours. We've been collaborating with them for several years. Their program is once a quarter, on a Saturday. The county, who has been working with the Village of Lisle for some time as well, was very excited to hear about our Monday through Friday work with recycling, and the community is extremely excited to not have to save up their recycling needs for the quarterly time. To have it available on the Monday through Friday really takes out a whole lot more waste and is extremely efficient. So the county and frankly, a variety of people that I've seen in the village or residents of the village have been extremely excited about our Monday through Friday option, as opposed to saving it up for the one day every quarter that you could do it. So we are definitely working with the village on making sure that we're coordinating together.
How are we working with the village?
So we started out with Sustainable Saturdays. The Village of Lisle has a fabulous event called Sustainable Saturdays. It's hosted generally at the Illinois Benedictine University, and most of the, I'd say, Lisle entities get together in March to help together with our recycling. So we've done this for one full year. For now, this is our second year coordinating with the Village of Lisle for Sustainable Saturdays. So that's one of the ways that we have.
Okay, thank you. So just so I understand, if I were to schedule a meeting with village staff and we would have the same conversation, we would all be on the same page as far as.
So we would need to schedule it with the people that we've been conversing with. I can let you know the people that we've been conversing with.
Okay.
So
And leadership there would know.
I'm just saying that we've been a partner with Sustainable Saturdays.
I believe that. I'm not questioning that. I'm talking about, let's move on.
Okay, so does anybody want any other options? Or have any other questions or have any direction as to what you would wish to do? And also just a reminder that we have 2 different grants from the state that are coming to us from capital improvement perspectives. Well, we've actually had fully this understanding since the budget was passed in May. This was actually given to everybody several times. There were 2 line items. I can give you again the information from the state.
No, you have, but capital improvements were not for recycling. They were for windows. They were for things that we needed. We've got leaking windows. We've got
Yes, we
other
do.
issues to be addressing. And the current recycling program is messy. Have we resolved the traffic flow issue?
So We got a variety of signs from the county. And we just got these last week, printed up from the county to help us with our traffic, issues. And again, to make sure that everything is clearly labeled as to where people are expected to go. But the current system is exactly the same as our donation for foods. Clerk Pollak.
Suggestion. Could you report back to us, maybe just send it to us, your different options? You'd like to build something that's enclosed. Show us where you'd like to build that. Show us what kind of permits are going to be needed to do that as well, and how that will look and how that will work and how the traffic will go and the whole bit, versus doing something semi-permanent that you would need to get a permit. But I'm not sure you need to get an ongoing permit. You might be able to get just a special use permit or something like that. If you could just give us that information as well, so it's when they're temporary and what the village is absolutely requiring, where those would be and how that would work. Does that make sense?
Okay, so here's the thing is that I just need some direction as to what you all are looking for from a directional perspective. Because what I'm saying is that that's a whole lot of work. And if they don't want to do any of that, that's okay, just tell me now, is my point, is if it's clear that you don't want to do, spend any money on it, it's okay, just let us know. And so we're just trying to figure out, okay, in the past, you haven't wished to, and you already said that the grant money is is earmarked for a variety of other sources, so that's okay too. It's just that, again.
Discuss this, and you act like we've been talking about this all along. We talked about that grant money to go for the things that we needed to restore this building.
So
We
again,
never talked about a recycled building.
and that's agreed, and so that's why it
We're
sounds,
not.
okay, and so again, it sounds like you don't want any more information because it's already. Something that you're not interested in, that's okay. We just don't wanna, again, that's a whole lot of work to do to get us to the same answer that you're not interested in, that's okay. So we would rather,
Everyone has heard everything we just said, and that's not what we said.
Enclosed structure
Not
sounds
like-
vague. Like chain link fence. I have no idea what to picture in my head for an enclosed structure. So we need some visuals.
Way more information.
Oh, that's a good point. Is it an enclosed fence? Is it a warehouse building? Like, what is that?
Okay, so if anybody, we have pictures in our garage of how it looks, but it's 8 containers that are about the size of this table, that are cardboard. That is how we collect things. And so in order to collect recycling, we would have to have a space to do that. We currently are using our garage, and we're using a lot of labor to do that.
But see, we should have done these things before we implemented the program. And this is
Exactly.
when you first said, we're doing the recycle program, like, and I said, and everyone looked at me like, why is she not for it? I'm for a recycling program. But I said, what's your plan? Well, it's in the newsletter. No, the newsletter said the hours to drop off. It's not a plan. Like you. And so then what she's asking you is to gather information so that we understand what our options are. And well, if you don't want it, well, I'm not going to do that. No, you're throwing something in our lap, and then we're asking you for more information, and you're making us look like we don't want to spend money, like how you go out into the world, tell people we're going to have shutdowns because we don't want to spend any money. Stop telling people mistruths. Stop it. And stop sitting here and acting like we've had this conversation over and over again. We haven't. Gavel me. Go ahead. Do it. But it's ridiculous to keep putting it on us that we're being difficult when you're just springing information on us.
Trustee guys, we've been discussing this program.
Never
for
discussed a recycle
5
building.
months. And again, this is exactly, it's good to know that you all don't wish to, and again, we need to understand what you all want in order to move on. And we very much had given you a plan as to what could be done and what was being done. And that wasn't what you wish, so, okay,
Can
then.
someone else reword this or rephrase it, because maybe I'm not.
Just move on.
I just skip it.
Okay. Then the recycling discussion is over. Meeting schedule and days off for 2024.
Actually, 22, isn't it? Or I
So-
apologize,
20,
It's 20.
21,
I had 18, 19, 20.
And then 21.
So
21.
20
I think it is,
is meeting schedule and days off.
I think so.
Yep.
So the only difference in this as opposed to last year was that the employees preferred to not have election day off and they prefer the day after Thanksgiving to be off.
That's the same. Not what we did.
We did that this year because the employees beforehand wish and they told us their desire to have the day after Thanksgiving off as opposed to election day. Because everyone felt like they had enough time to vote.
So how is it different? I thought we're doing the same thing.
We are, I'm just saying that this is, we changed it before the event last year. This year, we're changing it in preparation for the event. We only are allowed 12 holidays per, paid holidays per IMRF. So
Please? It's already
there's-
here. Thank you.
just 12 options.
Okay. And that's why I didn't understand there was a lot of external. Okay, so we're.
Trust you
so we're
guys.
Approving it?
We're agreeing to it, and we're also looking at the times of next calendar year, so 7:30 or at the second Wednesday of every month.
Okay, great.
And bringing our attention to the annual town meeting, April 9th.
Does that run into any
Holiday.
There was,
Ramadan and it's on the 9th? What other holiday was there?
That's June.
Passover later.
You're okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Passover.
That's what we're-
That was what we
Yeah.
had the trouble last.
Yeah,
Okay. If we think, yeah, again, Ramadan.
Ramadan is
ends
on the 9th.
9th.
And
Ends
on
on
the
the 9th. I'm not clear which days are most important. I don't know. And it's not that we can't change it if we need
I was just
to.
gonna ask, can we alter that if we approve it tonight? Can we alter that date?
you would
going
have to
forward?
do it on March, or we would have to do it at the March meeting.
Oh, so.
yeah, yeah.
I'll make a do we, does this need a vote?
Yes.
There's a question.
Sorry, yeah,
Trustee Roberts.
well, can I just bring the issue up again? I think Attorney Seckler introduced the concept of moving the board meetings earlier.
I would love to.
And I know that part of that had to do with approval of expenses, and I think that we approached it differently this
Full-time
month.
work, it's hard, yeah.
We approached it differently this month. Is that something we should consider to try to get these to be earlier starting meetings?
No.
No? 7:30 still?
I think it's difficult for some to get from work.
Okay, fine. Just, yeah, I'm not gonna push it. Just raise it again. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the meeting schedule and the days off schedule for 2024. Second.
Thank you, trustee Page and trustee McGovern. Any other discussion? And a roll call vote.
Trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee McGovern,
Yes.
trustee Dice. Yes. Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. 21, discussion and possible action on finding a building environmentalist to conduct tests on potential mold issues. We don't have any known mold issues, but an employee asked us to do this. And we need to get your input if you wish this to be done. Trustee Geist.
What precipitated the request?
There was a fear of a gas leak, which was not a gas leak. We had the building evacuated, NICOR came out and there wasn't any gas at all determined to have gone anywhere. So there was not a gas leak. And that was I think the initial issue. And of course, we also have a history of the building across the way having black mold and being demolished.
Is there any evidence in this building that there's mold?
I haven't seen any.
And there's not anything in the packet on this either, so I'm not prepared to make any decision.
Okay, so what will happen? So are you not asking us to get any bids or any information? Oh, that's what we're looking for is what is your direction? So trustee
The
McGovern,
grant, yes, the grant you mentioned earlier, would that be applicable to
no,
mitigation? No.
trustee Geist.
I'm just because I don't know if I got my question answered completely. You answered, but I just don't know if it's clear to me. I'm not sure how potential gas leak and the smell of a gas leak, how that correlates to potential mold. I don't smell any moisture in this building. The building I do smell moisture in is yours. Very sensitive to mold because of my allergies. So I sneeze within 2 minutes of sitting down in her office. So I guess a gas leak to me is not something that champions me to go, oh, I should check for mold. If there's no signs of it, I just don't understand why we would be looking at mold testing. But, it doesn't cost anything to get a bid.
Yeah.
So we could certainly do it just to see if it's cost effective, but I just don't. If I say to you, I smell gas and well, now there could be mold, I don't see the correlation. And I guess I would have wanted more information from the employee as to why they were requesting it, but. Go ahead.
It's gonna take a staff time to do that. There's no evidence of mold. And seriously, if you look in any building hard enough, you're gonna find that.
Yeah,
right?
and
So
I never sneeze here. But I always sneeze in here. I'm very allergic to mold. That's what I'm saying. I sneeze as soon as I sit her desk.
It's not my fault. I just want to.
Just, it smells like wet.
I will just offer,
Clerk Pollitt.
okay, thank you. I would just want to offer one suggestion. If you find a location that you feel has mold, whether you see something, whether it's black mold's the bad mold. I don't know if they cross over into commercial, but there's residential mold inspectors that could probably do it. They go for free and check if you're the owner of the building. However, I would not go through the building for a mold inspection. If you find black mold someplace, look in the ceilings, look in the bathroom. You usually don't go out looking for it. You find it hits you in the
presents
face.
itself.
Right, it finds you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It's very visible.
I know.
So we'll get some bids and we'll get you more information, is what I'm hearing from the board.
No.
Or am I not?
It's-
I'm trying to
it's not
get
what was said.
some direction.
Not top priority?
Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm responding to employee issues and we're getting your direction. So would you like the bids or not?
Well, I think it's my fault, because I said it doesn't cost anything, but I think you're right. There's no evidence, there's no sign, no one's sneezing, coughing, staying sick. I don't see the value in doing it, but I also want to make sure that the employee, the way it's presented to them is in the way that we're, in the way that we're saying it, which is at this time, since there's no evidence, we just don't feel that it's a necessary expense
Okay, we will convey that. Is that all?
in those.
Is that all agreeable to the board? Okay, any other discussion? Okay, then, agenda item 21 has been adjusted. 22 is discussion and possible action on job descriptions. They are not changed, that we just hadn't agreed to any amending or any of these. So we were asked to keep, bringing these up. If you have any edits or if you want to table this to a personnel committee meeting or anything like that.
I'd like to make a motion to table this to the next personnel committee.
I'll second it.
Thank you, trustee Geist and trustee Cage, and then any other discussion? And a roll call vote.
Trustee Geist, trustee Page.
Yes.
Trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay, 23. Is discussion and possible approval on ordinance 2023 and ordinance establishing, ratifying and authorizing advisory committees for Lisle Township.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-011, an ordinance establishing, ratifying, and authorizing advisory committees for Lisle Township.
Thank you, trustee Robinson.
I can't second yet, but I have some comments. May I speak?
Trustee Page?
Section 8, it says committee members can resign by submitting in writing their resignation to the Northfield Township Administrator. That needs to be. Okay.
I love it.
With,
That is section 8. Next to last page.
yeah,
Yes.
okay,
And
Why is yours different than mine?
no, that's
I
yours.
don't have that one here. Oh. Okay, thank you.
Oh, mine is just stated different. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
I mean. isn't that-
the poets.
When I read through this, there was a couple things that I kind of wanted to question to the board. 4C says, do you want to change it to supervisor or majority of the board? It's, this is where you, so the trustees can't talk to contractors, vendors without the supervisor's approval. You may want to add, or majority of the board. That was a thought. 5A, I think this is, the committee members will be approved by the board is what I would suggest to you. Because this has the supervisor choosing the committee members and the board only consenting.
Yeah.
She can hold the supervisor actually can hold the committee up if it's a committee she doesn't want or any future. Because you're not adding the proper people to it or people that you would. So, I don't know how to change that wording, but the possibility of, committee members will be approved by the board, maybe that's it, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it just the township
Suggested.
board shall appoint members? How's that?
That would be
Yeah.
right.
That's great.
No, personnel is in conjunction. So, just for clarification, it said the personnel committee is in conjunction with operations manager and food pantry. Is with a food pantry director, which all sounds great. But is that saying that they're on the committee or just with their input or?
Yeah. So it would be, I guess, what was proposed and what I drafted is that it would be kind of a conjunction that the operations manager and the food pantry director who are kind of overall oversee personnel would kind of with their input go to the personnel committee to say, this is what we as staff recommend, or as, the directors recommend, but it's up to the personnel committee then they're not on the committee.
They're not on.
Not on the committee,
Okay,
to answer your question.
okay,
But it would be thought of, that obviously the personnel committee would speak directly to the operations manager, the food pantry director.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay, just as long as it's clear and written clear.
The personnel committee should be able to talk to anyone.
it's it's more to say who you get, you get input from, what the process should be, if like that, what they should be, how they should be evaluating personnel and policies. Who you should be going to is the person who's directing the personnel at the township.
And then, section 7, I just wanted to question if you wanted the co-chairperson, because it says section 7 is a co-chairperson can be appointed at the discretion of the supervisor. So I'm not sure if that is something you want in there or not. And then section 8B has the same supervisor, same thing with the supervisor and not. I don't know if you want to put more authority onto the board and not onto, being directed how you want to run the committee.
Right, because we designated. the
Trustee
committees.
Geist.
We designated the committees, and so, we founded the committee, so I think we would like to retain control over. who sits on it.
Yeah, in each of those in section 7 and then 8B, all that you need to do is change and remove it, change it to read the appointment of the township board. With discretion.
Who selected this? Was this? You were guided with this,
No, I mean, this was just,
the standard or?
this was just my stand, as you can see, it's, and I apologize for the typo in there. It's a standard form, so it wasn't. So that's where it, with obviously was changed for your specific committees and such. But
Okay, so just.
yeah, that's,
What are you editing? Just so I understand.
I, based on the clerk's comments of the board, I would just, in our, was it 5A? 7. And 8B to change those to reflect that there'd be the appointment or in one part, the discretion of the township board. And remove supervisor with advice and consent. And I'd ask for a motion to also include the amendment to take out in 8A, the typo.
And then, section 4C, add for a majority of board. Did Clerk Hollowitz, that's what you suggested?
Or C. Mhm.
Why don't I just do, I think so how that's supposed to be read is by approval by the supervisor and township board of trustees. So it means the same thing to say the township board.
Okay.
By approval of the township board. So that it's a collective decision.
Yeah, okay.
That
Thank
it,
you.
So then can we make a motion to approve it with those amendments?
yes,
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-011 with the amendments as described.
It's already a motion on the table, just,
But we have the
But
amendment.
not
Oh,
that
yeah.
one.
So I'll withdraw.
okay, second,
Thank you, trustee Robinson and trustee McGovern, and then trustee Geis
Right, okay.
has made the motion, and then is there a second?
a second.
Thank you, trustee McGovern. Any other discussion? And we'll cover.
Trustee Dice,
Yes.
trustee McGovern.
Yes.
Trustee Page.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
No. The motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, next we have.
one comment and note, if I may, just so the board's aware with, this does allow, it actually formalizes some of the committee process, which is nice for the board. It also allows you to establish new ad hoc committees without doing a formal anything, except, board votes, so, just to be aware of that.
Thank you.
Okay, then we're moving on to old business. And
Yep.
30 is the next one, then 29, and then,
Well, we're on all day.
Consent agenda.
No, so we have to,
and that's,
you'd ask for third the next.
right, so 30
Yeah.
is old business. The main,
So
trustee Geis,
are we gonna go through all of this?
yes, old business.
Well, I just want to, I don't want to be a dead horse on this, but, just referring back to Highway Commissioner Young, it's, it puts us in a, we already have so much around us right now that's just not favorable. But, the vote of no confidence was nothing personal. It was just based on what was happening with our finances and our staff. And in light of last week's situation, no matter how that unfolds, it still happened. And I really think that just in the best interest of moving forward, we're really trying to hit the reset button. And I really implore you to really seriously consider maintaining your leadership as supervisor. And that's all business because I'm referring to the vote of no confidence. We let that go and we try to move forward. But last week definitely puts a blight on our township, and it's just going around that. It could have happened to anybody, it could have happened to any of us. But it didn't. And, you know, it's sometimes when you're in a leadership role, you have to look at what's best for who you're leading, and if it's very serious, you know, it's very, very serious. It's very serious to be arrested, it's very serious to drive under the influence, driving intoxicated. It could have happened anywhere. This is not a judgment in any way, but it's also a reflection of our township. In a leadership capacity, leading, you know, leadership, representing the township in a leadership capacity at an event. I just really want you to really consider it strongly. I'm not kind of a leader or push you. I really want you to seriously consider the impact of how that looks for us as a township.
Any other old business?
I have a question, actually. I would like to know why it is that you didn't extend the invitation to the rest of this board to attend that first annual legislative township meet and greet. Every other township and board was there. We were not informed. I would like an explanation from you why we were excluded from that event.
I'm not excluding anyone. I'm not the
You didn't
secretary of
extend
the
the
DuPage
invitation to
Township.
this board.
And again, I'm not the secretary of the DuPage Township.
I saw the
control their
invitation
email.
and it told you to extend the invitation to your board and you did not. I'm asking you why you did not do that.
There's usually a number of, in most of the township organizations, I send you that there's metropolitan townships, there's township officials of Illinois.
I'm
And
speaking
I don't
directly
control
to
all of the mail
the
lists.
event that was held
So-
on the first. I'm asking you why you chose to not invite this board to that event when you were directed to.
I have asked and answered that question, but I'm not
right,
the
done,
secretary of the
move on.
DuPage Township
Yep,
officials.
I'll ask that
So,
again,
don't-
because the email was, in an email that was sent to you on October 26th. It said, please extend this invitation to the elected officials, and we didn't get it. And it really makes us look bad when they're holding a first annual legislative, event, and none of us
showed up. None of us.
You know,
It looked like
and
it wasn't
it also, there was a Conservation Foundation event that we were not included in as well. There's a number of them, and the thing is, I know you want to be there, and that is great, but if it's extended to us, it makes us look bad.
Thank you.
Okay, and all of those entities had all of your emails. Is there anyone
That's not what the
else
invitation
that?
said.
No, it didn't. It went
Any
to
other?
every single
Cars are gonna go.
township supervisor.
Again,
Does
anybody have-
We can't be the only ones who are hearing that.
Yep.
It said, extend it to your board.
Yep.
Why would you use the excuse, well, they had your email? What?
It went to every single township supervisor and said the same thing, extended, and other board members were there.
And all.
We were the
Lisle Township
only
was not-
ones who weren't.
Okay, so again, the DuPage Township officials is not a group that I control in any way, and all of
You
you all
control your
have
emails,
the
though. You
emails.
can control what
And
you,
so,
how you react
again,
to emails that you receive.
And again,
Your logic is befuddles me.
okay, does anybody else have
Would it be
any
okay if
other?
At some point, just to say, you know what, my bad, I did overlook that in the invitation. Would it be too much to say that? You didn't think it was weird looking around, you didn't see anyone from your own board there?
Would you do that on purpose?
Yes. No, the first question, would it be too much to just say, you know what, my bad, I overlooked that in the invitation, I'll make sure that I include you next time? Would that be too much, instead of putting it on someone else who should have had our email and should have invited us? If the invitation instructed you to extend it to your board and you didn't do it, would it just be too much for you just to say, you guys, I missed it, I'm sorry, you're right? What, you can't do it. You can't do it, can you?
Trustee guys,
Okay,
I've
you
already
can-
asked and
No, no, no.
answered the
I
question several
want you to hear
times.
her. I want you to hear her. Can you just do that?
Trustee guys,
No,
there
don't
are
address me
a
again. Just
variety
answer the
of
question.
different
Can you do
email
it?
lists
No,
that
no,
I
I
don't
don't wanna hear-
understand.
Do you hear
All
her?
of the people
Do
that
you
are
hear
on
her?
that email list.
Okay.
And
I'm
am I
asking
the
you again.
secretary of any of these organizations? No,
You're acting
I
like one.
am.
I'm
And so,
asking you.
trustee
Gavel
guys,
me if you want to. I'm gavel till we have a headache. I'm asking you to answer the question. Is it too much to just own that you were incapable of extending an invitation to your board?
I'm not incapable of it.
Then why didn't you do it?
My board.
Are you incapable of an apology?
Trustee Geist, again,
Are you
I
gonna
have,
apologize when you have?
I
to
have
stand
said
in front
this
of that
several
judge over your
times.
case from last week? Own your stuff, Diane.
We're gonna call a recess right now.
Own your stuff. I want it on the record that you refuse to apologize to your board members. You have so little respect for us that you won't even apologize for not extending an invitation to us. On the record, I want it in minutes. Sorry to point at you. I apologize. Debbie, what you mean?
Any other old business? Okay, then moving on to reports of elected officials. Highway Commissioner Young.
The only thing I have is the car care clinic. I didn't have a. It had the most cars ever.
That's awesome.
It won't be a very good day.
81, right?
81? I thought it was 80. 81? That's fantastic.
That's, I mean.
That's all I have.
Okay, Assessor Trowbridge. Trustee Geist,
And nothing.
Trustee McGovern. Trustee McGovern,
Nothing to report.
Trustee Page,
Nothing.
Trustee Robinson.
Yeah, I'll just reaffirm, ask for finance committee meeting Monday at 9 AM. I'll work to get an agenda together. Definitely we want to look at accounting and legal expenses. We've talked about that specifically, as well as projecting for the next 5 months. Because we've got to figure out what we need to do, adjust the budget. Try to get more of an audit update before then. I will ask accounting resources to come and present. We have a proposal, and we have the old one from Lauerback and Alman as well, to look at those. Budgets, investments, there's some discussion around CDs. We should look at what we should do with our funds. And the other thing I want to mention, the supervisor sent an email to everyone today. I believe that there is potentially ARPA money available for food pantry capital investments. I would like the finance committee, and particularly input from the food, the food pantry committee, or what should we be going back and asking for? What are the, because I know we've made previous requests, like what are the important things from a capital point of view, so that we can be consistent in what we're going to be asking for. So those, again, I'll put an agenda together, share it with everybody, but those are top of mind, the things I've been tracking that I would like to spend time on Monday. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Robinson, and then Trustee. Or then Clerk Polowitz.
And just to add, that needs to be done by December 14th, submitted to the county. So,
Right, thank you for that, yeah.
So,
It has to be bought and submitted, so wait,
not bought,
yes,
no. It says DuPage County has put together a program for food pantry capital funding. Since you submitted some capital requests earlier, I wanted to make sure that you threw this email. The program will be open until, well, you guys can look through this, but I was not, the portal will be open for more information. I won't waste any more time. We can look at it, and December 14th is the date. So we need to look at that,
it's the deadline of which everything has to be submitted, and so.
but not bought. I don't think bought, but anyway, I just wanted
And
to.
bought, that's the end.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of switch gears and just ask everyone before they go to bed tonight to take a moment to pray or to think of all the people and their families who have lost their lives with the horrific murders overseas. And that's all. Just take a moment to think of those poor souls and their families.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good.
Okay, then moving on to new business. Is there any new business? Then 32 consent agenda with minutes.
Which minutes are you doing?
There are two for 10-10 and then for 10-11. One was
10-10 was the special meeting?
correct. And 10-11 was the regular board meeting.
Six. First page, pass them. One day a week we'll have to move.
I will fix it. Thank you.
9, last page, last sentence, 9. Friday having the most patrons. And then at the bottom, it says the meeting recording can be viewed at.
It's like I'll add in the link that's also in public comment. I'll make those changes. So whatever you approve will incorporate that.
No.
So is there a motion to approve any of those?
We're gonna write it down for you to get. Oh, you want to? I'll make a motion to approve, the minutes of the Lisle Township Board meeting, special meeting October 10th, 2023. And the minutes of the Lisle Township Board meeting October 11th, 2023 with the adjustments we discussed.
Thank you, trustee Page.
Second.
Thank you, trustee McGovern. Any other discussion? And a roll call vote.
Trustee Page?
Yes.
Trustee McGovern? Yes. Trustee Guys? Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes. Okay, then, executive session.
I made the motion to go into.
Wait,
We'll do it on
no.
second meeting. So we would to adjourn this meeting,
Mhm.
make a motion to adjourn today's meeting. Again.
And then any discussion,
sorry, we start.
and then any other discussion?
I just wanna, before they adjourn the meeting, make sure that we're good to, stop this meeting, start the other meeting, to be able to go into executive session. Because there's a second meeting that I know you never acknowledged, so I'm just making all clear that we're all good to adjourn this and go in.
Of course. Is there any other discussion? Okay, then. Roll call vote.
Trustee Page,
Yes.
trustee McGovern,
Yes.
trustee Geis,
Yeah.
trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hewitt.
Yes. Okay,